Hello everyone, I'm Brush1322 and this video is going to show the fastest fully upgraded supercars in terms of top speed. We're quickly going to go over the slowest vehicles right now, and as always the position counter is in the top left with the actual top speed the car achieved in the top right. This video only focuses on straight line performance, so if you're interested in racing where braking, cornering and acceleration are all relevant, check the link in the description for the lap time testing series. And if you want to know more information about this testing, including the extent to which it's accurate and how useful it is for you personally, have a read of the full description as everything that you need is in there. So just a quick note about the Rocket Voltic: when you boost with that, if you're already at top speed, it will give you an instantaneous boost to 140 miles per hour, but it is only for a split second. It takes you a second to reach 140 and then a second later you're back to 106. So that's why I've tested it and given its proper top speed of 106, because the boost, it only gives you an increase in speed for a very short amount of time, and beyond that, other than that, it does have exactly the same top speed as the regular Voltic, which is the worst in the class by far. So all the cars around here have pretty low top speeds, you know, the Infernus, the Vaca, things like that, in comparison to the supercars class, but they're not that bad overall. But when you're comparing them to the other supercars that we're going to see, there's a lot of supercars with decent top speeds, and that is why they're so low down in the list. Some vehicles can still be good around a track in terms of racing, like the ETR one and our next vehicle, the Tempesta, which may come as a little bit of a surprise that it's so low down. The Tempesta is one of the best vehicles around a regular racing circuit, as we saw in the lap time testing video yesterday, but its top speed really isn't that good, so it gets all of its lap time from cornering and acceleration. So if you're on a track that has a lot of top speed sections, you know, long highway sections, stunt races for example, you are going to be at a disadvantage with using these vehicles that don't have that great of a top speed. And that's why the supercars class is so well balanced these days, because you have to actually choose a car that is good for the track. There's very few vehicles that are good in all situations, and those that aren't going to be the best in any single situation. So that's what it's all about in having a well-balanced class, and that's really great to see with the supercars class these days, and specifically the cars that we're seeing here in this portion of the video: the Turismo R, the Entity, as I said, the Tempesta, and also what we're about to see with the Centorno and the Osiris. All of these vehicles are very, very good in terms of lap time and in terms of cornering and getting a good lap time around a regular racing circuit, but their top speeds, although they're not too bad, as we'll see as we go through this series and compare them to all the other classes in the game, the top speeds aren't too bad overall, but when you're comparing them to some of the other vehicles in this class, that's where they do suffer a little bit. So like I said, you have to take into account what kind of track you're racing on and the makeup of the track, because it's going to affect cars differently, and that's the same, that goes for all tracks and all different types of racing that you're doing. So we here with the T20 in 13th place, and that's, you know, again another example of exactly what I'm saying. As we saw in the lap time testing video yesterday, all of the vehicles that we've seen so far have been very, very high up in terms of lap time, just not very good in terms of top speed. Having said that, 122 miles per hour is still a very, very quick value, and like I said, it's just when you're comparing it to the other vehicles in the class. Now this video is all about top speed. Obviously it's all about what these cars can do when cornering isn't involved, when acceleration isn't involved, and that's the kind of thing that you need for stunt races more often, because stunt races in general will have long sections with tubes and long straight line sections where top speed is going to matter a little bit more. I'll come on to that later on, but obviously as you can see with the RE7B here in 11th place, 123.5 miles per hour is exactly the same as the Tyrus, but the RE7B is a hell of a lot quicker around a track. But if you take it into a stunt race, if you use the RE7B in a stunt race, for example, that has a lot of high-speed sections, it won't be able to get the win. It won't be able to do that if you're up against some of the other vehicles that we're about to see further on in the video that have higher top speeds and are still good, you know, capable around corners. So like I said, you've just got to make your own interpretation of what vehicle is going to be best for each individual situation, and use both this video and the lap time testing video together, and obviously your own personal preferences, to decide what is going to be best for you. So we had the Penetrator in 10th place, pretty decent showing there, and now we've got the Adder in 9th place. It always starts to get interesting when we get to the top 10, and it's interesting to see the Adder still up there in the top 10 with 124.8 mile per hour top speed, despite it being so low down in terms of lap time. You know, it's terrible around the corners, but that's a feature that we're going to see from quite a few of the vehicles that do have high top speeds. In 8th place, we've got the FMJ that's only 0.2 of a mile per hour quicker than the Adder with 125 mile per hour top speed. Pretty competent vehicle, the FMJ, in most situations. You know, it's quite good around the track. It's quite good in terms of top speed as well. It's certainly a good all-rounder. It's not quite as good of an all-rounder as some vehicles that we're going to see soon, but it's still not too bad. Now, 7th place, we've got the Italy GTB, and this is where it starts to get this is where we start to see some of the new vehicles that we've obviously already not seen throughout the course of this video. The Italy GTB takes a bit of a jump in terms of its top speed over the FMJ with 126.3 miles per hour, and that's pretty much quicker than any sports car, any other car in the game. You know, we're at this point we're looking at vehicles that have higher top speeds than most other cars in the game, and up there with the top speeds of some of the wheeling bikes. The Nero, obviously 6th place here, just ahead of it with 126.5, so only 0.2 of a mile per hour difference between the Nero and the Italy GTB. And now, as we get into the top 5, we're going to see their custom counterparts. So the Italy GTB Custom is a lot slower around a track because it's got worse cornering ability, but in terms of top speed, it is a little bit quicker than the regular version of the Italy GTB. It's not by much, it's only by 3/4 of a mile per hour, but it's still a little bit quicker with 127 miles per hour. That is insanely fast. And the three vehicles that we're going to see here are all very, very close in terms of top speed as well. So we had the Italy GTB with 127.0. Here in 4th place, we've got the Nero Custom with 127.3. If you want to know how I got all of these figures, obviously, like I always say, read the description. It's all in there. It's all been done accurately and scientifically and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, the Nero Custom is a very, very, very capable vehicle in terms of top speed. 0.3 of a mile per hour quicker than the Italy GTB. And then just sneaking into 3rd place is the X80 Proto with 127.5. Again, only 1/4 of a mile per hour quicker than the Nero Custom. And I would say this is what makes the Nero Custom and the X80 Proto so powerful and potent in terms of stunt races. I would say the X80 Proto is a lot harder to drive, and it's obviously a lot more expensive as well, and that's why my recommendation for an all-round vehicle is always the Nero Custom, because it's very, very good around the track, it's very easy to drive, and it's got a very, very high top speed as well, and it will be dominant on the majority of stunt races, and it's just a great all-rounder, the Nero Custom. But in 2nd place, obviously overall, we've got the 811 with 129.3 miles per hour. At least it gets something despite its terrible cornering. But the ultimate quickest vehicle in the game in terms of supercars class is the Banshee 900R with a top speed of 131 miles per hour. So we've taken a decent jump in terms of the top speeds that we saw from 3rd to 2nd to 1st. The Banshee 900R is the quickest. And we've got two vehicles that are pretty poor in terms of cornering ability, and they're pretty low down in terms of the video that we saw yesterday with track performance, because they can't corner very well, but they have very, very high top speed. So if you are on a long highway race, the Banshee 900R or the 811 would be the ones to choose, as long as there aren't too many corners that allow other vehicles to catch up. And as you can see here with the comparison, the Banshee 900R in 1st place absolutely demolishes the Voltic with its 106 miles per hour top speed. And that's, like I said, that's why it's so interesting with the supercars class these days, because the ability to use different vehicles for different situations is so high, and with everything being so close, it's really good to see that we've got some balance with the supercars class. And like I said, when it comes to stunt races, you do want to focus a little bit more on top speed rather than cornering ability, but there is still some cornering ability that's needed. So that's why I wouldn't necessarily recommend something like the 811 or the 900R when it comes to stunt races. It's more for long highway races when you don't have any cornering to do whatsoever. The stunt races do have cornering in them and things like that. That's why the Nero Custom is so powerful there. The X80 to a certain extent as well, but it is a lot more difficult to handle in the corners. So, you know, it's just a balancing act, and hopefully the video that we saw yesterday and this video helps inform your own decisions about which vehicles to use. Now you've got all the lap times for all the supercars and all of the top speeds for all of the supercars as well. You know what they are, and you can make your own informed decisions about which vehicle is right for you. The Nero Custom is my recommendation for one vehicle that will suit you in all situations, and then beyond that, if you have the money or whatever, you can look for all other different vehicles for different types of tracks and things like that. So I hope it's helped, guys. I hope you've enjoyed. Thank you so much for all the support. that is pretty much it for this one. We'll have the sports class next week. As always, we have a different video for each of these series every single Friday and Saturday, with the fully upgraded lap times on Friday and then the top speed on Saturday for every class in the game. We got a long way to go with all of these, but thank you so much for watching. Remember to read the description for more info. Obviously, comment with your thoughts, like the video if you enjoyed or found it helpful, and obviously subscribe for more. Thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.